welcome back to this ISB Talks, part two of my conversation with Pam Michalek, Community Director at Dynamics Community. And as Pam and I were discussing the Community Summit, I asked her what big new announcements are happening at Summit this year in Orlando. And spoiler alert, there is a huge announcement. There will be a soft launch of a new user group expert network. So please join me as we get a sneak peek into this big announcement at Summit. We've talked about networking events, we've talked about sessions. Is there any other big news happening? Any new announcements coming out?
Yeah, I would say the most important big announcement, or something we're going to be talking quite a bit about while we're at Summit, is called the User Group Expert Network. Quite a while ago when I started with Dynamic Communities, the idea of if we're going to build a community online in a digital way where it's meant to be online. So it's not like taking Summit and making it virtual because a pandemic happened. But if we're going to build something, what would we build, for now to take our history and everything that we've learned, but really, evolve for the future. And that's what the User Group Expert Network is going to be. So it's the online place that you log in to solve your problems faster. And so we're going to have a community of experts. So it's going to be led by our community, and we're going to have experts that they're going to curate content for the community. So whether it's someone did a podcast or someone did a training course or a webinar or whatever type of content, our experts will evaluate it. And so then as a user, they can log into the User Group Expert Network and get curated information. So instead of Googling Power BI and trying to learn Power BI 101 and Googling it and get a million clicks, they can go to the User Group Expert Network, and then it could say, hey, Power BI 101, here's a training plan, here's what you should go do. And it's curated by an expert who's been there and done that before, as an example. So we're going to have articles that are written. We're going to have like Zoom meetings, kind of like the one we're in today, where people are going to talk, and then what you'll be able to do, part of the platform is you'll be able to follow people, to follow things that the content they're posting. You can like things, you can have the conversation. So it almost kind of takes the discussion boards to the next level, because then instead of a discussion board of random general questions, it could be, I watched your webinar, or read your article, here's a specific question I have about what you're talking about. So then it can be it's just still going to be a little interactive in just a different way. So there'll be things like that where we'll post education, we'll post also things that are just point in time needs of the community. Like a good example would be like the supply chain crisis that's going on today. It could be just a conversation just to talk about what are the struggles in the world today and what people are doing to adapt to them. And then, of course, eventually it gets down to the ERP of how they're implementing that in the ERP side of the world. But I think it's those broader conversations that users go to Summit to have with one another that we're going to post online. But I think the biggest part of the User Group Expert Network is having it evolve to how people work today. So it's a noisy world. I mean, people are working from home, they have their pets and their families, and they have their IMs and their teams and all this stuff going all over the place. And then, they try to learn at the same time, and it just doesn't work. And so with the User Group Expert Network, let's redefine what that content could be. So instead of an hour webinar, why don't we do 10 5-minute little chunks? Right. So then as a user, I don't have to have that investment of a whole hour. I can invest 5 minutes at a time, and I can parse, because a lot of these people in our community, I mean, like, let's say take finance, they might know 90% and they're looking for that extra 10, but they don't want to watch all the 90%. They just want to watch that one piece that they need.
Yeah.
And so if we break it down into that, then they can find where that's at. So even with our longer pieces, we're going to have things like moments where it'll break down at like 5 minutes we talk about this, and at 12 minutes we talk about that. Or even breaking that down and editing it and posting them out in separate pieces. So it's really going to be about the right kind of content at the right time. So then they could log in over lunch and learn just the things that they need to learn and be able to solve their problems faster.
I just got chills hearing about this, because I know our discussion forums and everything have been huge in trying to figure out and solve problems, seeing what other users do. So I'm really excited about this.
It's the next evolution of our community and how we how we are going to bond and connect online. Like, you just don't want to go to another Zoom meeting. And so then this could change that narrative where it's not the way it was in the past. And so we can evolve to the future and kind of figure it out together. So we're going to show it. We're going to do some demos. I've been calling it kind of a soft launch. So we're going to talk about it, and then it'll launch a little bit after Summit. It's exciting. I just really it's exciting because I think this is something that could truly make a difference in people's day-to-day lives.
You mentioned to me, I know we're talking kind of prior to this about the recordings of the summit. So there are some recordings. Those are going to be hosted on the new website.
We'll post all the summit content that we recorded from last year. So we'll post that there as well.
Okay.
And then this year, the content that we are recording will get posted onto the User Group Expert Network site, after Summit as well. So that'll be the main place you'll go to see it.
Well, thank you for joining this part 2 of my conversation with Pam Michalek from Dynamics Communities. And the big news that they'll be doing a soft launch of the User Group Expert Network at Summit. So if you want to follow along, follow the hashtag MySummitNA, and I'm sure you'll hear more about this following Summit as they launch this new user group network for the community. So I hope to see you at Summit. If you do, come find me and say hi. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.